In this video, I want to discuss an issue that comes up in Ross Lesson 3 as it pertains to the status of shiva and syllables, and some areas where I disagree with Ross. And going forward, I'm going to assume that you're following my instructions and my method of doing things. So there are going to be some places where we have differences with Ross, and we're going to follow Dr. Marshall's way here. All right? So let's take a look at this handout. You should have this. If you don't have it, you can secure it from the course webpage for my Hebrew class under the Course Handouts tab. I also should have a link to this handout in the YouTube information section right below the video. Now, I want you to notice here that I differ from Ross in that I do not consider a vocal shiva in Hebrew to be a vowel, and therefore vocal shiva does not constitute a syllable, since in Hebrew syllables are by definition always going to consist of at least one vowel with a consonant to lead it. So if you look at Ross page 44, he gives an example from the Hebrew word Samuel. Down here is how Ross divides the word Shemuel. Shemuel. Notice, by the way, that the shiva here at the beginning of the word is vocal, and that is in keeping with what we learned just a little while ago. Shemuel, and transliterated would be this way, and he divides the syllables this way. So if you remember, I told you count the vowels in a word, and you will know how many syllables it consists of. Here is a shurik, that's a vowel. Sere is a vowel. And he considers the vocal shiva to be a vowel, so he ends up with 3 syllables. Shemuel. Okay? Now, if you were to divide it at the Hebrew points, here's how it would look. What I'm going to have you do is something different. I want you to treat a consonant with a vocal shiva not as its own syllable, but rather as part of a consonant cluster that always piggybacks on to the following full syllable. In other words, there's going to be another consonant with a full vowel, and the preceding consonant with a vocal shiva is going to cluster with that full syllable to create a syllable. All right? So let's take a look here. Here is the example that we were just looking at with Shemuel. And if you'll see what I've done here, I've left the consonant with the vocal shiva together with the next consonant and its full vowel so that it creates one consonant cluster syllable. Shmu, shmu. And then el is the second syllable. So here, if vocal shiva does not constitute a vowel, then I only have 2 vowels, the shurik u and the sere a. Shmu / el. I have 2 divisions, Shmuel, 2 vowels, u-a, and so only 2 syllables. Okay? Ross would put that division here. I'm not going to do that. The next word is show, and then a vocal shiva, fatim. How did I know this was vocal? Well, I look to the right, and I see a long vowel. Holam vav is long. It's historically long, and therefore the shiva is vocal. And because it's vocal, I'm not going to divide here after the vocal shiva. I'm going to let the consonant with the vocal shiva piggyback onto the next syllable, tim, to create a consonant cluster at the beginning. Show, fatim. Show, fatim. All right? In transliteration, it would look like this. Show / fatim. And again, only 2 vowels here. The holam vav is a vowel. The kirik yod is a vowel. The vocal shiva is not a vowel. So 2 syllables are left. And then the last one is kar-mali. Kar-mali. Remember, 2 shivas in the middle of a word are such that always the first one is a silent shiva, the second one is a vocal shiva. And so notice then that silent shivas mark the closing of a syllable. If I have a silent shiva in the middle of a word, it's always marking a closed syllable. So kar, consonant, vowel, consonant. And then mali, that's a vocal shiva, is going to piggyback onto the next lamed kirik yod vowel, a consonant vowel, syllable. And so I get a consonant cluster at the beginning. Mali, mali, kar, mali. So 2 divisions here, 2 vowels, pathak, Kirik Yod. And so only 2 syllables. Now, why do I not consider a vocal shiva to constitute a syllable? If you look at different Hebrew grammars for first-year Hebrew, some will treat the vocal shiva as a vowel, and some will not. I go with the group that does not. Several reasons here. First of all, real vowels, and only real vowels, can form a syllable. And since vocal shiva is not a real vowel or a full vowel, I don't consider vocal shiva to constitute a syllable. Secondly, because only real vowels can form an accented syllable. That is, only real vowels can take the tone. And vocal shiva is never accented in Hebrew. You will never see an accent on a vocal shiva. And thirdly, I consider vocal shiva not to constitute a syllable because if you treat a vocal shiva as a vowel and therefore as constituting a separate syllable, then the 4 syllable rules that you are learning or will learn in our class are going to be broken all the time. In other words, the 4 syllable rules of Hebrew will only hold up if you're treating the vocal shiva as I'm suggesting. So we're going to not treat the vocal shiva as a vowel and instead let it piggyback onto the next full vowel to create a consonant cluster at the beginning of that syllable. Now, what's going to be our strategy then for dividing syllables? We started learning how to divide syllables in the last chapter as we were learning about the vowels and what makes an open and a closed syllable. How are we going to do it here? Here's our strategy for dividing syllables, and you're going to follow this strategy basically for the rest of our class. We will constantly be talking about whether syllables are open or closed and where you would divide. This is going to be important chapter after chapter after chapter. Now, how will we do it? First of all, begin at the front of the word, and as you remember, Hebrew is read from right to left, so the front is going to be the far right of the word. You're going to identify the consonant and its vowel. The vowel's usually going to be under the consonant. There are some vowels that are to the left and even to the left and above. Often, the consonant-vowel combination will form an open syllable, and then you would draw a line to the left, okay? Now, let's just take a quick look here at this one. I have a resh, which is a consonant, and a vowel under it. Okay, so I'm starting at the far right, reading toward the left. So this is ra. And like I said, a consonant vowel is usually going to form an open syllable. And so I would normally divide here. But, this is an important but, okay? First check to the left of that consonant vowel and see what's under the next consonant. So here I'm going to look at the next consonant. If there's a vowel under it, then the first syllable is in fact open. So do I have a vowel here under the chet? Yes, this is a sere. And so I've got a consonant vowel. The next consonant has its own vowel. Remember, each vowel gets its own consonant in a syllable, so I can go ahead and divide here. Okay? So if there's a vowel under the next consonant, then the first syllable is open. Go ahead and draw a line to the left of the initial consonant vowel. So that's what we've done here. Okay? Let's take a look at this next one. Here's my first consonant and its vowel. I'm going to look at the next consonant. If there's a vowel under it, then this first consonant vowel is open, and I can go ahead and draw my line here. So ra, chel, da, var. This consonant vowel is open. Remember, it's only closed if I have a closing consonant after the vowel. And here, chel is closed. Here, da, open, consonant vowel, var, closed, consonant vowel, closing consonant. All right. So these are fairly easy ones to do. Of course, this chapter has to do with shiva, and that's why we need to talk about this, because we need to know what to do when we see a shiva in the middle of the word. So, you see initial consonant vowel, look at the next consonant. If there's a vowel under it, go ahead and divide. You've got an open syllable. However, if there's a shiva under that next consonant, you cannot divide yet. First determine whether it's a silent shiva or a vocal shiva. And how do you do that? By looking to the right. Look at the vowel to the right. If it's short, the shiva is silent shiva, right? Remember, short, silent. Short, silent. The consonant then is closing the syllable if it has a silent shiva under it. So you're going to divide to the left of that consonant with the silent shiva. And we'll do an example here in just a second. Note, a silent shiva in the middle of a word will always marks a closed syllable. So if you ever determine that you've got a consonant with a silent shiva under it, you will divide to the left of it because that consonant goes with the consonant and vowel to the right because it's closing the syllable. Let's just go ahead and look at an example here. This first one here on this line, I have a consonant vowel. Remember, we're looking for that first. And then I look at the next consonant, and if there were a vowel under it, I would divide here. But there is a shiva under that next consonant. So I have to decide, is this silent or vocal? What do I do? To figure it out, I always look to the right. And what kind of a vowel is this dot, this kirik? Is that long or short? The answer is short. Okay, so that's a short vowel. And so this shiva is silent. And so what will I do? I will divide to the left because silent shivas are marking a closed syllable. Okay, so that should be a straight line there. Mark that as a closed syllable. So yes is the way I'm going to pronounce that. There's no vocal noise here. Yes. Okay. Now, on the other hand, if I have a consonant and vowel, and I look at the next consonant, and there's a shiva under it, and I look to the right, and the vowel to the right is long, then the shiva is a vocal shiva. And the consonant is therefore not closing the syllable, but beginning to open a new syllable. So divide to the right of that consonant with a vocal shiva. Let's look at this next example, and this will exemplify what we just talked about. So here I have my consonant. Holam vav is my vowel that goes with the consonant, so this is ko. The next consonant is the tate, and there is no vowel under it. It's a shiva symbol. Now I can't just divide here, okay? I have to decide whether that shiva is silent or vocal, because if it's silent, I have to divide to the left of it and leave it with the preceding consonant vowel. If it's vocal, then it will go with the following consonant vowel as a part of a consonant cluster. So can't divide yet. I've got to figure out whether it's a silent or a vocal shiva. So what do? Here I'm going to look to the right and assess whether the vowel is long or short. Holam vav is a long vowel. And if it's a long vowel, the shiva must be vocal. And if the shiva is vocal, where do I divide? I divide to the right of it. Okay, this is an open syllable, and the tate is going to take this vocal shiva and jump on the back of the next consonant vowel combination. So this is ko to loth. Ko to loth. This, on the other hand, was Yisrael. Yisrael. All right. So if the consonant has a vocal shiva, it is not closing the syllable but beginning to open a new syllable. So divide to the right of that consonant that has the vocal shiva under it. Always divide to the right. Next, continue reading toward the left from the next consonant for the next consonant with its vowel, and repeat steps A through D until you're all the way to the end. And the word will either end with a vowel, creating an open syllable, or with a consonant, creating a closed syllable. So let's go back to our first word here. So we determined this was a silent shiva, yes. Then I go to the next consonant and its vowel. I'm going to want to divide here. And since the following consonant has a vowel under it, it does belong with a new syllable. So that's yes, ra. And then this vowel is followed by a closing consonant. So yes, ra, el. This is the Hebrew word for Israel. Yes, ra, el. Now, let's think about whether these are open or closed. Yes is closed, consonant, vowel, consonant with a silent shiva. Ra, open. El, consonant, vowel, consonant, that is closed. Over here I have ko, that is open, and then t and lamed holam vav. That's a consonant with its vowel and a closing consonant. This whole thing is a closed syllable. Ko, telot. Remember, I'm not going to divide to the left of vocal shivas because they do not constitute their own syllable. Ko, telot. I really have two vowels. Holam vav, holam vav. So only one dividing line separating this into two syllables. Ko, telot. And because this syllable ends with a consonant, it must be closed. Now let's take a look at midbar here. And we keep in mind, this is really, this should be F. This is the crucial thing. Always divide to the left of a silent shiva and to the right of a vocal shiva. Okay, always divide to the left of a silent shiva and to the right of a vocal shiva. Here I have mid-bar. Mid-bar. Why am I not vocalizing this shiva? Well, let's walk through the steps. I have my consonant and its vowel, and I would normally want to divide here if it's open, but the following consonant has a shiva, and so that means this could be silent and it could be a closing dalit. It could be a closing consonant. It could be vocal. How do I know? Look to the right. The kirik is short, so the shiva is silent. If the shiva is silent, where do I divide? Always to the left. It is a closed syllable. Mid, no sound, silent. Mid, and then bar. Consonant, vowel, consonant. This consonant has its own vowel. Resh is the closing consonant. So 2 closed syllables. Mid, bar. Mid, bar. Now let's look at this next one. I have a yod with a kirik, consonant, vowel, and then the next consonant has a shiva under it. So I've got to decide, is this silent or vocal shiva? Now if I take a step back, I see that I have 2 shivas in the middle of the word, and this is the easiest thing to figure out, right? Because when we have that situation, we determine that the first one is always silent, the second one was always vocal, and so if this kof has a silent shiva under it, I am going to divide to the left of it. Leave the consonant with the rest of its syllable because it's a closing consonant, belongs with that syllable structure. Yik, yik. This consonant has a vocal shiva, so we're going to not divide it. It's going to stay with the next consonant and its vowel. So yik, no sound, silent. T, vocal shiva, lu. Yik, to lu. Yik, to lu. And because there's no consonant at the end of this, this is open. Yik is closed. Yik, to lu. Yik, to lu. So that's how we're going to divide syllables in Hebrew. When I ask you to divide syllables, this is how we're going to label them for whether they're open or closed. All right? So I hope that helps.